Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. We're just
It's
starting to
good
get
afternoon
busy.
here, Anita.
It is. I know I'm West Coast, Sean. Forgive me. We're starting to let people into the meeting, and we're just waiting for a few more people to join. And we're super excited to get started with everybody this morning. And I see some of our artists are here this morning. I see some customers, and I recognize some people from social that are joining. And of course, everyone give a big, thoughtful hello to my mother, who has also joined us this morning. Hi, Mom.
My mom is unaware of this at the moment, so
Oh,
you're the only one with a mom here today, Anita.
well, I live with my mom, so she's fabulous, and she's just in the on her side of the house, just listening in. So hi, Mom, and we're just gonna get ready in just a second. I think we're just still letting a few more people in. We're just sort of seeing people trickle in as they always do. How is it going in Vermont today, Sean?
It's a little overcast here in Woodstock, but warmer. The winter, like we don't really, there's no snow out there, which don't tell the skiers that. Um,
No, I know it's really warming up on the West Coast here too. Though we're supposed to get an atmospheric river this weekend, whatever that's supposed to mean. I think it just means torrential downpour.
that sounds like fun. I'll make sure to come visit.
Right? Okay, I think it's just past 10 o'clock now. People are going to keep trickling in, but I think we should just get started. So hi everyone. My name is Anita Peterson. I'm the DM at Wild Apple. And joining me this morning is Sean Harnett. He's our CEO and the owner of Wild Apple. Hi, Sean. Are you ready for this morning?
I am ready. Thanks, Anita. And thank you for everyone who decided to take a little time out of their day and jump online with us this afternoon. Anita said it already. I'm Sean Harned. I'm the owner and CEO of Wild Apple. I started here about 7 years ago, and I was originally came on board to help with modernize some of our processes and our workflows and everything else. And I very quickly fell in love with the artists that we have the chance to work with, all of our partners and customers and designers that we all around the world, and especially the team that we have here internally at Wild Apple. Little secret, our average tenure right now at Wild Apple when it comes to experience is over 15 years. So something pretty proud that when you think about it's a family here. Anyways, saying that, about 3 years ago, I had the chance or the opportunity to buy Wild Apple, and I jumped on it, pushed all my chips to the center of the table, and it haven't looked back. It's been awesome, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else at this point. So, a little bit about me in case you guys haven't crossed paths with me before. Anita, I'll turn it back over to you. You were very brief on your amazing 20 plus year career.
Oh, yes. Well, 23 years in art licensing, 14. So just 1 year shy of the 15 mark at Wild Apple, but 14 amazing years at Wild Apple. And I think it sounds like a lot when you say it out loud, Sean. Does it really? Someone the other day said to me that I was eligible for a senior's discount soon. And I just was like, oh, yes. Right. But, I'm proud of those years. I've been in art licensing since I was a wee baby out of marketing school. And this has it's been an incredible journey. And my job is to make beautiful things like our lookbooks, along with Belinda, who is on this call here, and of course our art directors who are also joining us today, as well as content creation, media relations, social media, website development, you name it. Anything marketing related goes through me and the team that I get to work with every day.
Yeah, basically, Anita just allows me to drop ideas on her, and then she runs with it and makes me look good. So,
That's right. That's right. So, all right. I just want to start with some housekeeping. So we've turned off everyone's cameras and we've muted you all, but something glitch goes awry, please leave your cameras and your mics off. Belinda and Gretchen are monitoring in the chat. If you have questions, you'll pop them into that chat and we'll answer them as best we can at the end. And we're doing polls. Watch for them to pop up on the screen, and we hope that you answer them so that we can get some information. So, hey, Sean, we're Wild Apple. You want to tell us a little bit about, for the people who don't know what it is that we actually do here?
yeah, I think a majority, I'm going to take a wild guess, a majority of you that are online with us today probably already know something or maybe even a lot about Wild Apple. But in case you don't, or you're new to us, you know, we're a full service art licensing agent that's one of the leading art licensing agents in the world. Now, what is art licensing agent, art licensor? There's a variety of different names. What does it do? What do we do? Okay. We represent artists, okay, that and their artwork that they develop to match them up or connect them with manufacturing partners, designers, retailers that need good on-trend art, pattern, and design for the products that they're selling or creating, or for the projects that they're trying to win. So, what areas do we work in? We work in wall decor. Wall decor is paper under glass, canvas, wall murals, and some installations that go much larger than even that. On the other side, we work with home decor products. Home decor products are textiles, stationery, ceramic, floor coverings, any of those things that need art pattern and design. We work with hundreds of partners there as well. So why is it so important? One of the big things for us is that we need to be on top of trends. Okay. If we're not on top of trends, because our partners are also building so far out, we're talking about 2026 right now. 2025 for the most part is done. We have to be making sure that we help our artists develop art and our partners select art that's going to help with those projects and products coming up in the future. So that's a little bit about us. I will turn it back over to Anita. And what do you got for us next?
Well, I just wanted to cover just a little bit more about what it is that we do. We've been at this since 1990. And Sean, I think you told me how many years, and we're how far away from 35 years?
We are 3 months away from 35 years. So
35 years as our mission statement, our vision statement says, of making the world more beautiful with art. And that's what we do. We see trends, we see them come and we see them go, when we're always working to stay ahead of the next big thing. And whether it's on trend or timeless, I think that as a company, we've got it. It's one of the things we really strive to do. Our collections can span every style and every market, from classic and elegant to bold and more modern looks. And our reach is global. I think that's also really important. We partner with manufacturers, retailers, and designers and artists from all over the world. We help them create art-driven products that sell at retail. And our catalog is huge. It's huge, Sean. It's growing all the time. It's 75,000 plus images and patterns, and it's growing. Like weekly, we're adding new stuff,
yeah.
and we're
And when,
constantly adding new
and when
pieces.
we say 75,000 plus, that's individual images. For those, we have multiple different file types and everything else. Last time I looked at our total file store, we're approaching 800,000 files that are all
Right.
stored in the cloud. That's one of the things that I was brought on to kind of try and help with. But it is a massive part of our business is how do we do that efficiently and accurately.
Absolutely. And Shawnee, I just had a question for you. Before you applied to work with us at Wild Apple, had you ever heard of art licensing before?
I had not. It's one of those industries that once it, no, I don't want to say it's niche, but once you learn about it, it's like you go through any retailer or hotel or rental property if you're in an Airbnb or a friend's house, and you're like, "Ooh, that's ours. That's ours. That's a wild piece. This is it."
Happens
And
all the time.
it's yeah, Betsy doesn't even like going to Home Goods with me because she just loses me for like an hour. Okay. And so it's something I had never been in before, didn't really understand, but very quickly began to see how large of an industry it is that kind of goes unnoticed by a lot of the general public.
It really does. And I just want to point out too that for us, quality is everything. So we have our high resolution files are something we take a lot of pride in for our partners. And they're perfect for wall decor and textiles, dinnerware, more. They're scalable, customizable. Our staff are incredible. Our artists are incredible at creating those high res files. And at the end of the day, I think we like to think of ourselves as a creative partner, right? So we like walk alongside brands to build collections that stand out and connect and make a lasting. So
No, and when you talk about files there, I'll just throw in my 2 cents on that. When you want to know how high quality our files can be, okay? We just finished an installation down in New South Wales that was 6 meters tall by 30 meters wide, and our files were able to go up to that size. So we take that as a big point of pride.
and I know just really quickly, Sean, because I know we want to get into the trends, is I just wanted you to talk about AI for just for a couple, just a minute. And because I know
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that's definitely a hot topic. We see it in the news, and it's not going anywhere. Okay. I've got an 18-year-old that's a senior in high school. I've got a 20-year-old that's a sophomore in college. And, I have conversations with them about it. Um, AI is a tool. We need to be aware of it. We need to know how to use it, especially for them as they go into the workforce here in the next few years. Okay. But there's a lot of positives, but there's also a lot of negatives. There's good places to use it and places that it doesn't belong. And one that Wild Apple feels very strongly about, and I do as well, is that it is not a creative tool. Art is a human connection. It is human created by human hand. It is when, as a consumer or someone, aficionado of art, you're connecting with that piece of art. You're connecting with how that artist felt that day. You're connecting with the colors they decided to use, the subject they decided to paint, or photograph. Um, that is the connection that you get with art. AI, though amazing, doesn't have that. So we feel very strongly about that. I had an article that I published a month or so ago. And if you want to read more, I know we're going to share, I think, that link in the chat or at the end of the
Yeah,
meeting.
they're
So, oh, there it is, right there in the chat.
our lovely assistants are going to share it down there. And we'll also share it back out when we sort of follow up with everybody after this. So,
Mhm.
okay, is everybody ready? Are you ready,
Yeah,
Sean?
you got any trends or anything, Anita?
I have some. I have some that we want to talk
Just a
about.
couple? All right.
Just so today, the trends you see on the screen there, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to talk about, I want to make clear that we're talking about mass market trends that we think are going to continue in 2025 and some that are emerging now into 2026 and beyond. And some of these, I know you've seen some of these. You're saying, I've seen these, Anita, already. Why are we talking about them for 2026? These are things that have been sort of gaining momentum and they're still going to be important moving forward. So, and I also want to give you a quick heads up that in some of our slides, you're going to see some product shots that aren't ours. And I want to be super clear about something. We take copyright very seriously. We never take another artist's work and claim it as our own. And like any creative company, we get inspired by fashion and interior design or magazines, we go to shows, but we always make sure we put copyright protection first. It's just how we do things as a company. And in fact, we're founding members of the Art Copyright Coalition. And so copyright protection is a really big deal for us. All right, let's talk about Coquette, or as Pinterest calls it, Rococo. For us, it's always going to be Coquette in our hearts. This look is charming. It's flirty and it's feminine and it's just totally sweet. It's got a vintage romance meets playful whimsy thing going on. And you can picture dainty bows and juicy cherries, bubbly champagne, and pastel desserts. And Sean, I heard the other day that perhaps you're thinking about changing your man cave over into Coquette. Is that
I'm
true?
I'm I'm halfway through it right now already. We're going pink and bows and cherries. That's the new man cave look.
I love it. So I get asked a lot, why is this trend everywhere right now? And honestly, I think we're in a total vintage revival. Everyone's craving that nostalgic feminine aesthetic that's happening, and fashion and home decor are kind of leaning into those Victorian and Rococo and almost 1950s vibes. My mom and I just talked about that the other day with the shirt that she had bought. I was like, it's a sort of really 1950s sort of flowy vibe. And then I have to be real, Bridgerton just absolutely sealed the deal. And if you haven't seen that show, I don't know, you've maybe been under a rock, but you should watch it. And ever since that show dropped, it's all been about delicate florals and empire waist, pastel hues. And Coquette just gives that whole look a little bit more of a flirty, playful twist. And then we cannot leave out TikTok because, of course, that hyper feminine aesthetic, it made it go mainstream. So influencers are mixing vintage pieces and bows and corsets and giving it a fresh, dreamy vibe. So the key icons, bows, cherries, champagne, dessert, sweetness, loveliness, pretty florals even. These are just some of the artwork that we have in our collection right now that you will find online and actually in some of our blog posts as well. Been very popular with our customers, very popular with consumers. Love seeing this trend and really looking forward to sort of how it develops over the next year. Okay, our next trend, market fresh. This trend basically brings a little bit of food nostalgia and sunny vibes into home decor, and especially into the kitchen, into the dining room, but actually also seeing it in fashion. I don't know if you guys have seen these sort of like fish and sort of sardine dresses that are happening that are really cute. And again, going back to Coquette, there's this huge love for vintage packaging, like sardine tins and labels, and vintage everything, old school typography being really important. And it's got sort of a timeless, well-crafted feel. Just makes everything look just a little bit cooler. And then there's, I know, Mediterranean lifestyle. Don't we all wish? Sean, I bet you do too. We're all just sitting on a Mediterranean beach, right? Sipping Aperol spritz and, living the good life. That
Absolutely.
olive oil cans, ripe tomatoes, fresh fish, citrus. It's capturing laid back sun silk vibes. And it's like little bringing the Mediterranean slice of heaven right into your kitchen, right into your home. And then you, of course, and I know I see this a lot in Vermont, a lot where I live as well. I think where everyone lives is the whole farm to table and slow living movement, right? That idea of slowing down and enjoying the movement. People are really into local food, handmade everything. So it just naturally fits that art would highlight those fresh ingredients and earthy vibes. So for us, here's some artwork that we have currently in our line and artwork that will be developed. You're just noticing two little things that I want you to keep in mind. We're going to talk about checks a little bit later, really important. And vintage posters have actually been a really big part of this look, right? So it's this idea for these vintage posters transformed with food and bringing those in. And that kind of is almost like, oh, Gretchen might get mad at me. I feel like it's almost like a little bit of an 80s vibe. Gretchen can kill me later if that's wrong, but it kind of has that vintage 80s in some ways feel to it. So just wanted to show this beautiful room shot that Belinda did because I think it's just such a great, shows off this artwork in such a great way for wall decor. Sometimes I think it's easier to imagine artwork like this on products, like you can see it on tins or you can see it on fabric. And I would like to show it as wall decor as well as like how this translates, back into the home. Okay, time for a poll. So if my fabulous assistants could bring up a poll, it's basically we're asking, where do you go to get inspired? And if you guys, you can answer more than one thing. We're allowing you to have multiple choice. I'd love to see what you guys think. We'll just sort of, so go ahead and start answering. You can see the numbers moving, Sean.
Yep.
Can
Watching.
you, can you see it too?
Yep.
Oh, great. Social media off to a big start there. Pinterest, catching up. Okay. Still watching, still moving. All right, so seems like social media, Pinterest are really the ones taking off right now. Fashion, interior design influencers, magazines sort of hitting in there as well. Trade shows down at the bottom, which I would expect, but we find trade shows to be incredibly inspirational.
Yep. And if you scroll down, you'll see there's a second question on which social
Oh
media
yeah, oh
platforms.
sorry, yeah, there is a second one. Sorry, forgot all about that. Thanks, Sean. Instagram, I knew Instagram would be number one. I knew it, knew it. TikTok's very hard. TikTok's a very hard one to manage. For anybody who does TikTok out there, I am 100% in awe of you. It is a very difficult one to make content for. All right, I'm just going to end this poll so we can move on.
Thanks, everyone. We'll share that later.
Yep, we certainly will. Okay, going on to the next trend, timeless. So I love this trend so much. I don't have it in my home at all, but I love it as a person who works in art licensing. So we want to talk about why blue and white is everywhere. So first off, people are craving a little bit of classic elegance. And I think that's a pushback, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Sean, about the so much minimalism happening in interior design in the past year. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking with customers and you go to shows or you're in customer meetings, is this timeless look like a very sort of classic look? Is that something customers are looking for?
Yeah, we recently a high point in the fall, Atlanta. I didn't make it to Vegas yet, and getting ready to head back to High Point again. But this is something that we see in a lot of showrooms as something to get away from more of those block prints or very muted tones. So, no, I see this definitely having a place going forward.
Yeah. And it's those heritage inspired designs, right? Like Delftware and chinoiserie, toile, they feel really timeless. I feel like they come in and out of art licensing over the years. This has been very strong comeback right now. They look fresh when they're styled in the right way. And I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of these tablescape artists that have been like setting out these beautiful tablescapes. That's kind of really where it started, using vintage dinnerware. Now we're sort of seeing it progress into other places. So brands like Tory Burch and Ralph Lauren, Zimmerman, they've been running like with blue and white prints lately. And of course, that's spilled over into interiors as well. We're seeing it in textiles, we're seeing it in wallpaper, ceramics, and you can't forget the coastal influence because blue and white just nails that seaside breezy vibe. And it's that Hamptons chic, which we've talked about on our blog before and talked about on social, that Hamptons chic, laid back, Mediterranean look, even travel and style charm. It just makes your spaces feel sophisticated, but still totally relaxed. And so when we translate that into art, here's how we're translating it into artwork. So our artists are creating everything from, patterns that are toile, Delft inspired, beautiful floral patterns. I just want to go back through once. You see that rug in the top right-hand corner. That's not our artwork. That is a very famous designer. But the artwork that I'm showing, which is in the bottom corner, that artwork actually we've done, that's actually an older collection for us. So I can say that we definitely had that artwork first.
Yep.
Um,
With our 75,000 plus files right now, our unique
yeah,
pieces of art, we don't throw things away.
no,
And
because
what's old is often new again.
yeah,
So
and trends are cyclical, right? They do come back, and we'll often take collections that we've had in the past and refresh them, right, to make them new again. Because the art artists have also been with us for a long time. We want to make sure that we maximize the most that we can out of their collections. So we're seeing these, we're seeing patterns for fabric. We're seeing it go on to, onto dinnerware. We're also seeing it in wall decor. It can go on a variety of different products. It's really just quite a versatile trend right now. Okay, Animal Farm. Um, I like talking about animals because I'm actually surprised there's not a cat on that back chair. Normally they're bothering me here like crazy, as you all know when you're in meetings with me. But animals are totally having a moment in home decor right now. And it's about letting personality sort of coming through into our decor in unexpected ways. And some people, I think, like we just talked about, over the whole minimalistic thing. Not in my house, but other people really, I mean, my office is crazy. But it's all about whimsical maximalism. It's about playful personality, pack designs, spaces that make things feel and decor and things that we even wear that make us feel less serious. And what's better way to do that, right, Sean, than with animals? And
absolutely.
fashion's on board too. So that little dress that you see there with the little cute little animals on it is actually a Gucci dress that's for sale right now. And Tory Burch, they're all about animal prints, quirky motifs. It's spilling over into home decor and accessories. And if it's cute and it's a little bit cheeky, it's kind of in, right? But it's also about feeling crafted and handmade. So again, going back to that sort of like digital fatigue, right? Like wanting things that feel sort of, crafted and personal. And people love little details like hand painted rabbits on things or little stitch birds. So I think this is this most adorable trend. Here, how we're translating it into artwork for the wall and for home decor products. You'll see everything from wall decor, like especially that kind of tiger design that's in the bottom down there, really popular in wall decor right now. Moths, anything with wings, really trending. Cute animals on stationery. We've been seeing it on like melamine dinnerware, napkins, anything like wrapping paper, stationery, all that kind of thing. And then, of course, there's swans. So I just have one extra slide, Sean. So I really want to show how swans are showing up in home decor. And they're really showing up in a not so cute way, right? It's really this very sophisticated way. And of course, we've got some really beautiful moths there as well. It's a little bit more, it's definitely not minimalist, but it's sort of a little bit dark, right? And I think that's a look that our customers have really been digging lately, don't you think?
Absolutely. No, we see stuff like this. I've seen a lot of this at High Point, actually.
Yeah. So for wall decor, we're definitely not as much the cute look. We're seeing a little bit more like the serious sort of interior focused sort of pieces. Okay, time for poll number two. What is the most challenging thing in the art licensing world? I think there are, so this goes for the artists that are on this call, goes for our manufacturing partners, our retail partners are on this call. What is the most challenging thing happening for you when you think about art licensing? And I know, like for me, digital asset management has always been one of the big things. For us as a company, digital asset management has been a huge thing that we always try to, stay on top of that challenge. Standing out in a crowded marketplace, that's kind of coming up
That's,
as number one.
yeah,
I would agree with that. And of course, keeping up with trends, always challenging. Just give it another second here. I think we've got everybody, well, a couple more coming in. All right. I'm going to end that poll. And the number one was standing out in a crowded marketplace. And I
yep,
agree. I think I'm going to say that, as an art licensor, that's why you want to work with art licensing.
yep. I see
Right?
the standing out in the crowded marketplace and the, keeping up with changing trends and consumer design preferences are almost the very intertwined. Those are the top two.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's one of the benefits of working with an art licensor, right? Is like we can provide that service to people of saying, we can help you. Like what is your current product line? What's going on? How do we help you sort of with artwork, make that product spectacular? All right, moving on. So one of my favorite trends, painterly. It's being driven by sort of a mix of artistic revival, digital fatigue, I think is a big thing for people, a desire for human connection in design. So kind of going back to our conversation on AI there. And I think here is really what's sort of fueling the rise. With digital AI generated stuff out there, people are just craving something a little bit more real, a little bit more imperfect. Sean, you talked about that slip of a brushstroke, that kind of idea. And visible brushstrokes and textures look like someone actually put their heart and soul into something. And honestly, we can also thank the Impressionistic revival also for some of this too. Monet style dreamy landscapes, soft painterly scenes that feel calm and effortless. But I guarantee you that our artists are on this call right now that do landscape paintings and put brush to canvas will tell you that it is not effortless and not always a calm process, but the result, they make it look that way. So we're seeing this show up in everything from wallpaper to textiles, giving spaces a sort of really ethereal, sort of artistic feel. And you can't ignore that fashion's also been running with it. So Dior in particular and retailers, some big retailers are all about those painterly prints right now, floral, abstract, strokes, the works, you got it. And of course, it's spilling over into interiors because let's face it, when high fashion does something, it doesn't take long for home decor to catch on. And that's always been the wave since the day when I started at an art licensor, a different art licensor, not you, 23 years ago. We always were looking at fashion when we were predicting trends moving forward. So when we look at some of these, the art inspiration here, some of our key icons are going to be landscapes, coastal, floral, abstracts, and meadows in particular. And you can see there, these are all very sort of very painterly, you can see the brush strokes, you can see the artist's hand, you can see the intent in these pieces. And they we're getting a lot more call outs, a lot more requests for this type of look. So I just want to talk about meadows for 1 second, because I promised Moira that we would talk about meadows and meadowscapes. So meadow landscapes are having a moment, makes sense if you ask me. And there's just something about soft painterly fields of wildflowers or rolling hills and golden grasses. It feels very calm and sort of very inviting. And it's part of that breezy vibe that people are looking for. It's a sense of escape and serenity without being like overly fussy. And it's got that sense of nostalgia, but still feels really fresh. And I also think, what I put up there was a lot of the sort of more colorful meadow pieces that we're looking at, but we also have a lot of sort of more neutral meadows as well for the people who don't want to bring as much color into the home, right? There's some sort of more laid back sort of pieces as well, but they still all have that sort of very breezy, painterly feel to them. So the next one, we talk about moody florals. So again, people ditching minimalist neutrals and going for more bold statement interiors. Dark florals, they're perfect for this. They add depth and sophistication, a tiny little bit of intrigue, and whether it's a statement wall, like a big giant mural, or it's like really rich textiles, it just feels really elevated and kind of a little intentional. And you can't ignore Victorian and Baroque revival happening right now. And of course, dark academia, a really popular trend that we were seeing for quite a while. So, and we're also like, when you look at it, you're looking at historic florals inspired by classic sort of Dutch still life painters and vintage sort of botanical prints. They're making spaces feel timeless, but still modern at the same time. And I love how these sort of vintage sort of inspired florals look perfectly at home in a very traditional space. They also look very at home in a very modern space. And at the end of the day, it's about channeling romantic, dramatic energy, right? But you don't want to feel outdated. So we translate that into our art collections. We see everything from photography, which we've got there as well. And again, some more muted tones. Mainly a lot of these pieces are going to be very dark, right? Or they're going to be framed in very dark ways. So you can have some lighter pieces, but they're going to be framed in very moody framing, or they're going to be part of fabric collections that have black backgrounds, or dinnerware that are feeling very moody, and again, bringing in that black and sort of those darker shades. Love seeing some pops of color. And then also, I love it when trends combine together, like animals and Moody florals together. So we really wanted to show this beautiful room shot that Belinda put together, where we're sort of combining those looks together. We've got that sort of these really adorable animals, but a very moody floral, all combined together to create this sort of very cottagecore, dark cottagecore sort of feel, which I mean, I just would love to just chill out in that space. I do think, Sean, and I don't know if you've heard this from our customers, that sometimes people can be a little afraid of dark artwork. That doesn't mean you have to put it into a dark room, right? From an interior design perspective. This
No,
room doesn't feel dark, right? It feels still feels bright.
no, absolutely. It can be an accent piece. It doesn't have to take over the whole atmosphere of a room. So
Yeah.
you get on there.
All right. So just time for our last poll. So what styles of art are you most interested right now? If you guys could launch that one. I know what my favorites are, Sean. What's your favorite? I mean, we're not participating in the poll. What's your favorite?
I, I'm a I'm an abstract guy.
Are you?
Yep.
Okay. I also like abstract as well. I'm kind of feeling I'm into that sort of vintage retro thing right now, which is surprising for me because I think that I'm a very minimalist person. My home is very sort of black, gray, very modern, but I'm kind of digging the whole. And I also love my husband saw those sardine prints the other day and was like, we have to have those. So
We might be able to make that happen for you, Anita.
I hope so. All right. I'm just going to end this poll. Yeah, I'm going to end it. Looks like Painterly coming out on top and Vintage Retro. So those two really top. And Whimsical also sort
Yeah,
of hitting the mark here with everybody
yeah.
today.
Traditional classic right there too.
Oh yeah, and yeah, traditional classic. Okay, I close this one. We're gonna keep going here. So I know I said that we were only doing those six, but guess what, Sean? Surprise! I brought in three more. I couldn't decide, Sean. You can't get mad at me. I just, it's
We honestly started with six, and Anita came back. I've got three more.
I got
So
more, but they're short because I know everybody's short on time this morning, and I want to get through this for everybody. It's really hard putting these presentations together because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're hitting things that are happening that artists that are with us today or our customers that are with us, things that are happening that are really important. But there's so many of them. I mean, we're bringing out sometimes 4, 6, or more trends per month that we're talking about. So how do I narrow down like a whole entire year just into 6 things? Couldn't do it. Got 3 more. Let's just keep going. Okay, dark cherry, but with pink. I love dark cherry. It's rich, it's deep red, it just oozes elegance and drama. It's classic. But it's a little bit more intense than a classic red and feels a lot more sophisticated. And we're seeing it everywhere in art, textiles, accessories. And yeah, Pinterest. They called it out this year as a top trend for 2025, and we totally agree on that one. So I think we're going to see that pushing into 2026. And the big reason again is fashion, the crossover from fashion. Luxury brands are loving these deep cherry tone reds. And I'm thinking Valentino's iconic shades. Plus, it's got sort of a romantic, nostalgic vibe going on. It's feminine, it's mysterious, but it's also playful. And just how we've been translating it into art. Love that we started using sort of these dark cherry backgrounds on some sort of vintage botanicals. They're sort of tying these into the other trends that we saw here today. Animals, florals, painterly florals. We're kind of seeing it in multiple different ways. It's gonna be really exciting to see this trend sort of carry on. Our next one, stamp it. I love this trend. It's all about retro. It's wanderlust. It's charming. It's collectible. It makes people think about everyday objects and make them a little bit more personal. We're talking ephemera, right? It's really coming from two places: nostalgia and ephemera. So vintage stamps and postcards, old school paper are making a comeback again. People are craving handwritten analog charm, right? Again, let's go back to that digital fatigue that people are feeling. Because it feels thoughtful, right? And it feels real. Who doesn't love getting a letter in the mail? I know I do. Like if I still have like my aunties or my mom, will send, her friends letters. And I just think it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And I guess there's scrapbooking and collage aesthetic. It's blowing up again. Mixed media art, DIY journaling, stationery trends are all huge right now, and stamps fit in. And you're also seeing it so cute. Actually, one of my friends had nail art done that had little stamps on the other day. So cute. I have the worst nails. You'll never see that on my nails, but it was really, really adorable. And again, how we're translating it. So you're sort of seeing those scalloped edges, actual stamps, patterns that can go into fabric, onto just about anything. Really great. We see it a lot in sort of they're very romantic, almost Valentine's Day collections. Of course, fits really, really well. But we're sort of seeing that emerging across not only product development, but also wall decor as well. And the last one, okay. So trend, stripes and checks. It's all about mixing sort of traditional with a modern twist and taking sort of those classic stripe and check patterns and giving them a really fresh update. And a part of it comes from the whole grand millennial vibe. People are leaning into this sort of heirloom inspired designs and classic patterns like cabana stripes or gingham or checkerboard prints. And it feels sort of cozy and nostalgic and it looks current though, right? Even though it's got that vintage feel to it. And then, of course, again, the Mediterranean coastal influence always popping in works really well with that. Blue and white stripes nail that sort of French Riviera, Italian summer sort of nautical chic thing. And of course, checkerboard revival. I think everybody's been sort of seeing that more and more, even in fashion. And that partially and thanks to the Y2K aesthetic. And in fact, the indie sleeves come back and checks are everywhere. So that little, the image you see there in the bottom left is like a really up to date sort of fashion, modern fashion indie sleeves thing. And I don't know about you, Sean, you lived through the 90s. You know, we were in the 90s at the same time. It wasn't ever really keen on the fashion coming back, but yet here it is.
Yep.
Not
I don't know where you got my pants from. We resurrected them from the 90s, I think.
but it's good to see, these fresh ideas coming in, right? And so, but how we're translating it into home decor is a little bit not so indie sweet. You're seeing that sort of that fresh, that sort of Mediterranean vibe again. That's sort of like a little bit more of an 80s, 90s sort of vibe. We're seeing it in fashion pieces. It's just really adding a lot of sort of depth and dimension and interest to artwork. And I just wanted to also make sure that I just sort of showed it sort of in a wall decor context. So this is from, oh my gosh, the designers slipped my mind. I was like, don't forget to say who it is. I'll tell everybody later. Uh, Wall and product design and decor, checks and stripes can also just be used as a border. So for example, if you're creating wall decor collections and you wanted to show a landscape, but you wanted to add in that check pattern, you could actually license, for example, a beautiful painted check background and then create like a mat board so that the artwork would then sit on top of, I think is a really brilliant, sort of beautiful sort of way of looking at how we take this sort of trend and how we can translate it in different ways. So we're getting right to the end, Sean. That was great. Thanks for hopping on with me today. So if you guys love trends like we love trends, I want to make sure that you check out our website for everything we're loving right now. So we have an art licensing trends, which is sort of our monthly trends or that we put into our lookbooks. We sort of translate them in a little bit more depth on our website. And of course, we also have our art licensing blog on our website. That talks about trends and it also talks about sort of industry insights as well. And then, of course, follow us on Pinterest. We actually have a 2025-26 art licensing trend board. I'd love for you guys all to follow us there. We'll be adding in, these trends are all in there, as well as all the trends that were in our lookbook earlier this year, or sort of our trend lookbook that we brought out in January. Another trend book will be out probably sometime this summer. I should talk to Belinda about that. And as we add more trends that we think are really relevant, we'll be popping them in there. So a great place to follow what it is that we're seeing. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes. Again, I know we're running a little bit over time. If there's any questions, if Belinda or Gretchen, if you guys saw any questions pop in from anybody that we can answer really quickly, we can sort of just do that right now for the next couple minutes. Do we have to unmute? Oh, no, Belinda's unmuted, right?
Unmuted.
Oh, hi.
I'm going to ask one anyway while we see some of these come in.
Okay.
How important is it to go to trade shows to stay on top of trends?
Oof, I think that's a good question. I would say, Sean, that's critically important for us as an industry.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the best way to see almost multiple retail storefronts. Yes, they're showroom booths or showrooms or booths, but you get to see so many different takes on how things are being done, and how they're being put together as far as product suites, or, even as you were just showing there with the checks being used as a mat board, it's all these ideas and it's just an immersive thing that you really have to do.
And I think
So,
at the end of the day, shows are just really inspirational. Like they're just very inspirational, not only meeting with customers, but yeah, walking through those showrooms and looking at the creative, beautiful things people are making in Atlanta or Vegas or Dallas or High Point or whichever, and sort of like gaining that inspiration. And also talking to customers at those shows is really important. Anything more, B, that's coming in?
Someone else asked, how many artists do you represent, and are you currently looking for new artists?
I always love this question. Sean, how many artists do we have like that we're actively publishing right now?
Actively publishing, we're a little over 60 at this point, and yes, we are always looking for new artists. There is
Mhm.
a submission page on our website. I will say we get usually maybe a half dozen or so a day that submit. We are very selective, but selective because we're looking out for the artist. Okay. We don't take the policy that we're just going to sign anyone who submits. We want to know that our partners that we work with have a use or demand for the type of artwork that is being submitted. So we are very selective. I think last year we signed, I think, 10 artists over the course of the year, but it was either that they fit a need that we had or demand that anyway. So we try to be very thoughtful. The last thing that we ever want to do with is sign an artist and end up in a position where their artwork was not in demand and it didn't end up being a
Right.
fruitful relationship or partnership. So.
And I'll just add, Sean, one of the questions that gets sent to me a lot on social media through Instagram or LinkedIn or through our Facebook chat is artists say, I've applied before, I've submitted before, and I didn't hear from you. Can I submit again? And I say, we always encourage you to submit again because as your artwork changes, as styles change, as consumer needs change, our needs change as well, and our customers' needs change. So what you were doing a year ago may be in demand now. And so one of the things I always encourage artists to do is watch the trends that we're talking about. So follow us on social, follow us, read our blog posts, see that what we're talking about, browse our lookbooks and see the things that we're talking about and to see what's relevant for us in the industry. Anything else, B, that's relevant?
Yes. How does Wild Apple feel about artists who create digitally versus traditionally?
It's a great question. I think we have a mix of both, don't we, Sean? We're not
We
against
do.
artists creating digitally.
No, we do. There's a place for both of them. Pulling out a paintbrush, pulling out a camera, doing something digitally on Procreate. As long as it's human created with a human hand, that is what's important
Okay.
so that you can have that connection. But we're not going to say no to any type of artwork that comes through other than,
Just AI, just no
just
AI,
AI.
just AI,
Yep.
no AI artwork. Yeah. Anything else?
Yes, one more. How important is the European market in art licensing?
I think it's really critically important. I think, we talked about this before, Sean, right? How Europe was always, and I think this is sort of a common knowledge, Europe was always a little bit ahead. It used to be 23 years ago when I started in art licensing, it was like they were saying, oh, Europe is a decade ahead. I think we've closed that gap quite a bit. I wouldn't say they're a decade ahead of us anymore. I'd say maybe a year, maybe. But I think it's really important. And that's why we go to shows in Europe and overseas.
Yep. No, absolutely. We were at FAMA over in Bologna last fall, framing an art show. And it is, yeah, you got to watch what's going on in Europe. They are a little bit ahead of us
Yeah.
here in North America. But yeah,
And Maison Objet, we can never forget
yep,
Maison Objet.
Maison Objet.
We were there, we were there earlier this year as well, right?
Yep, no, Claire went over there and she also was it Birmingham?
Birmingham, there's London Design Festival,
Yep,
there's so many over there that are so critically
yep.
important. Yeah,
So we
and
talk a lot about Atlanta and Dallas and Vegas and High Point, but we are definitely over in the European shows as well.
I think it's really important to point out that most art licensing companies, most art licensors aren't just licensing in North America. We're not only licensing in North America, we're also working with product development overseas.
Hmm.
So we make sure that the collections that we have are also relevant to markets around the world. So whether it's Australia or South America, we're not just only focused on what is happening in North America.
No, absolutely.
Very big global market. I'm just gonna know because we're sort of at the end here and I don't want to keep people going. But if anyone has any additional questions, you can always send them to us. You can DM us on social. You can use the contact form on our website. Feel free to reach out to us. I just want to say thanks, Sean. Thanks for hanging out with me today and talking about trends. I want to thank everybody that joined us today on this, our first webinar that we've ever done. We had like almost 300 people sign up, which I thought was absolutely extraordinary. And I'm just so happy to see that.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Anita. And really thank you to everyone who jumped on with us and took some time out of your day. We really enjoy working with all of you and hope to be in touch soon.
And I just want to, before we end up, I just want to make sure I'm going to follow up with everybody with a video of this presentation, some highlights, and also social links. You'll see that either on Friday tomorrow. I'm hoping I'll get it done today. That's going to be my goal, or if not, it will be early next week. Thanks again to Belinda and Gretchen, to all of our staff that are on this call today, all the gorgeous people I get to work with every single day, and also to all the artists that are with us on our call today. Thank you so much for following us. And of course, to my mom. Thanks, Mom. Thanks for coming and hanging out today. I'll talk to you later. You'll tell me what things hopefully I did well later today over dinner. And if you guys want to see us do another one of these webinars again, let us know, and we'd love to do more of them.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sean. We'll talk to everybody soon.